Welcome to the Sporting Spotlight, of course, brought to us by our great mates, Air Diffusion Australia.
Where is he?
Bill, he's overseas at the moment.
Oh, for a change?
Sure. I think he was in Turkey with the family. So, he likes to take those family trips with 400 people.
Yeah,
I think because he's got a big family. So, he's over there. But what about our next guest?
Yes, mate.
So, I've done a little bit of research, 4 folders to try and thin it down to a page.
Yeah.
Normally, when we get the guests in, you know how you can remember most of what they've done. But then if they've done too much, you go,
oops.
Well, this is pretty impressive. So, our next guest, mate, he's just ticked over 50. He's just ticked over 50. How's this for what he's done in less than 50 years, really? One of Australia's greatest fast bowlers.
Yes, he is.
Right? And people will know this about him, but his fastest ball, so he's in the top 14 fastest quicks of all time with 153.9 kilometre hour ball. I reckon he's sent a couple quicker than that. And I reckon he sent them to me one time when I was doing a promo with him. He's played all 3 formats of cricket. Of course, he played 71 tests, 97 ODIs, and only the one TD, but they came in late, so we can excuse him from that. Made his playing career, he played for Australia, South Australia, Yorkshire, Glamorgan, the Rockets in the Indian Premier League. Then he went to coaching, and you've got to be good to do this, mate. He started in Zimbabwe, then he was in the Indian Premier League, then Yorkshire, then he had a stint in Papua New Guinea. I want to talk about that because it's a really interesting one. Sussex, the Redbacks, and then Pakistan. So you go, well, that's not bad. That's a small capsule of what he's done.
Yep.
But what people didn't know about him, he was one of the fast bowlers most durable.
Yeah.
So between 2002 2005, he missed 2 tests. Mate, they're rotating him now. Well, you look a bit tired, take a break now. This bloke didn't take a break, mate. Yeah. He had to break a leg to take a break, which he did as well along the way. But this is the interesting stat in all of it. And we will get to, of course, his double century. Still the greatest wicket keeper.
We might get to that early.
We'll get that out of the way. That might take a little bit. I didn't know this one. Did you know, and I know you're a cricket buff, that Dizzy and Glenn McGrath statistically, even today, are the most successful opening bowling pair.
Yeah, that's good.
Ever.
I don't doubt that at all, mate. I don't doubt that at all.
All right. There is a question I want to ask him because I found this out too, mate. He's the great-grandson of a warrior. So he could have been tagged a warrior because his career, he pretty much identified that because he started with the mullet and he's cut back, he's followed you and I and gone shorter and quicker and faster. We're talking about the great Dizzy Gillespie. Diz, how are you?
I'm very well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Mate,
thanks for coming in, mate.
You know how you know, we've known each other a long time, mate, and you kind of talk and you recognise things they've done and then suddenly you delve into your career and you go, geez, mate, you never mentioned that one, didn't mention that one, didn't mention, pretty humble bloke, aren't you? Hey?
Well, as you said in the intro, you do a few things over your life, don't you? And,
you do, mate.
And they just accumulate over time. So, look, very proud of, I suppose, everything I've achieved in my life so far. Hoping there'll be more to achieve.
A bit more to go.
Yeah, because as you said, I've just ticked over 50, which, is new ground for me, but yeah, all good.
They say life begins at 50, mate. They just don't tell you what it begins to do. But I'm telling you this, mate, it's not uphill.
You know what got me, mate? I was reading up on you this morning.
Yeah.
And it said, Dizzy Gillespie, known for his bouncing mullet and his hook nose. Now, that is in Wikipedia.
Yeah.
How did you let that happen?
Doesn't matter.
He's hooked nose.
For other people, yeah. I've been copying it for my nose all my life, so it doesn't. I mean, my mates at high school even, they called me Geppetto, Pinocchio's dad. So, how do you come back? That's if your mates are calling you that. So, what hope do you have?
I'd never really noticed that though, Diz. I've never noticed it.
Well, that's very kind of you.
When I looked at it, I thought, hang on, you can't say that. You can't.
So you noticed the mullet.
Yeah, I noticed the hook nose now.
Well, it's been a great interview. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for your time. Hey, mate, I want to touch on the bit. You're great-grandson of a warrior. Mate, can you tell us a little bit about that history?
I actually don't know much about my great-grandfather. It's so our Indigenous roots are from my father's side.
Yep.
So my late father Neil, and my mum's side is Greek. So I've got Greek heritage as well.
Yeah.
So our family's from Kythera, one of the islands off Greece, a fishing village off the coast of Greece, and so that's my mother's side. Yeah, father's side. Yeah, I think all I know about my great grandfather is he was a painter, and he was an acknowledged Aboriginal warrior. Yeah, so that's that. I don't really know much more than that. but my late father Neil, he was a CEO here of ALRM, Aboriginal Legal Rights.
Yep.
SANT. My brother Rob, he's a field officer there to this day, so he works there. So we've had a long sort of association, particularly Dad with all his work. He worked there for many years, helping Indigenous Australians, in that space. So, yeah, it's
Sydney born?
I was born in Sydney.
And how long were you there? How long in Sydney? How long did you grow up in Sydney?
I was born in Sydney. Lived there till 85, Bazz, and then Dad worked for State Bank New South Wales, and then got a job opportunity with State Bank South Australia. So we moved in, I remember, in January '86.
And you were how old?
I was 10.
Okay.
So we moved to Adelaide. They put us up in an old building on Prospect Road. It was I think it was an old State Bank building, but upstairs they had this little flat sort of thing. So we lived there for a little while until Mum and Dad, they sold the house in Sydney and bought here in Adelaide, Flagstaff Hill. So I lived in the southern suburbs.
Yeah.
Flaggies, mighty Flaggies. Grew up there. But everyone says to me, "Oh, you're born in Sydney, so you're New South Welshman." No. I'm South Australian. I'm South Australian. This is home. And,
not a lot of people would have known that, though. Not a lot of people would have known you were Sydney born.
Yeah, I mean, unless they look on Wikipedia, the hook nose and mullet, and then see that I was born in Sydney.
Nothing that you really like on Wikipedia at the moment, mate.
I'm not up here on Wikipedia.
Might have to. So why cricket, mate? What drew you to cricket? Was it always cricket?
Yeah, it was. Phil, what I remember, my earliest memories was early 80s and watching the Australian team play and watching Dennis Lilly and the Chappells go about their work, right? And I just remember being transfixed as a 6-7-year-old on the game of cricket. I might have been 5 or 6 years old, like really early, and I just couldn't stop watching the game.
Yeah.
Then I'd get a bat and ball and get Dad to throw me some, and it all just started from there, and I became absolutely obsessive. So much so, I remember before we moved to Adelaide, we'd go down the south coast of New South Wales, south of Wollongong and that, in those little holiday towns, and Mum and Dad would rent a house during the school holidays or whatever, or Christmas holidays. And we'd go down, have a holiday down on the beach. And if the cricket was on, forget about it. I would not go anywhere near and do anything. I would be sitting by the TV watching
the
it.
box,
And it was only breaks where I'd go and have a bathroom break or go and get a drink or something to eat. I had to watch every single ball. I was completely and utterly obsessed.
Yeah.
And, the love for the game just went from there, really.
Yeah.
Lily, you mentioned him. Obviously, there was the Lily Thompson, because we grew up in the same era, and we were all fascinated by those two. Is that what drew you to be a quick mate?
Yeah, I specifically remember Dennis running into bowl and just that charisma and just everything about him. And then I suppose as I sort of got a bit older and got guys that were coming into the side like Craig McDermott and then Merv Hughes, and that, as I became a young teenager and things like that, they were the guys I really idolised and looked up to, and obviously all the West Indian quicks basically. So, I loved Malcolm Marshall. I thought he was just amazing. And,
until you face him.
Until you face him, I mean, I never got to face him. You probably did, but no, I certainly never got to face him. And but I did get to meet him once, which was pretty special. And just a wonderful bowler. But I was just obsessed. Yeah, I love fast bowlers. I remember as a teenager, got injured at times, and had some times where I could only play as a batter, but I was always, even though I was little and then I had a growth spurt, I was always, in my head, I was always a bowler. I love bowling. So.
On the bowl.
Mate, you mentioned the West Indies. Is it strange that that's your debut for Australia? I reckon it's 1996.
Yeah. December 96,
November 29 to December 3, I reckon, was it? Can you remember that? You always remember the first one, the baggy green cap gets given to you, mate.
I was pre
the baggy green.
Actually, the actual ceremonies that you see now, which are brilliant. And the former player comes and presents baggy green.
Send them out.
Ours were just given in a box and sent to your hotel room with your vest and jumper and shirt and stuff, and baggy green and floppy hat and stuff. So I remember it was in the Hilton on the Park in Melbourne, and not far from the MCG, and get Baggy out and. SCG, sorry. There's a Hilton not far, and I remember putting cap on my head and just looking in the mirror and sitting on my bed. Do you remember I don't know if you remember that Seinfeld episode where, I don't know if you guys watched Seinfeld. Remember when he got the jacket?
Yep.
And he loved that jacket. It had the pink and white stripes on it. And he'd just sit on the couch and he's sort of, that was me with my baggy green. I'm just sitting on the couch, sitting on the bed, just thinking, how cool is this, right? I was like Jerry with his jacket.
But that's to be expected, though. I mean, a baggy green is something pretty special. I mean, you're not going to just go, oh, yeah, there's a baggy green, beauty. I've got a heap of them. That's something special, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I've got more than one baggy green. And reasons, I mean, there's a little bit of story behind it. Yeah,
so you stole one?
Not quite, no. One got stolen. Yeah. So I actually had my original baggy green, and that disappeared in a tour of South Africa. Okay. It disappeared, and it turned up in an auction place in Melbourne. And because I got given a new one because obviously I lost my baggy green, but I couldn't think for the life of me how I lost it. And then it turned up in an auction house in Melbourne. Now, what current player would ever get rid of the baggy green? It just doesn't happen. So I knew it'd been nicked, and they couldn't tell me where they got it from, or they couldn't tell Cricket Australia. So that was all done. And Cricket Australia made plan, got it returned to me, which was fantastic. So I had my original back, but I had the second one. So I had two. Okay. And then
you put that in the auction house.
Okay.
It's coming up.
So in 2001, we played the Centenary Federation Test match, which we were all presented with a baggy green in Sydney. So it was a test match where we got a one-off cap, and it's basically baggy green, but it's got yellow piping.
Oh, yes.
Right? Oh. So only the 12 players that were in that game got that baggy green. So that was my third baggy green. Wow. And we only wore it for that test match. So that was it. And then, so that's three baggy greens. And then I got dropped from the 05 Ashes tour. And then I got selected again for Bangladesh.
Yep.
And we'll get to the greatest innings of all time in Bangladesh.
I'm glad you're leading us into it,
mate. See how I've just segued into
I like where you're going with this. Use the hats to get there.
So what I did, I actually went to Cricket Australia and said, well, I feel this is a bit of a fresh start for me. I've been out of the team for a year, and I had to actually fill out a form to request a baggy green, and they gave it to me. So that's my fourth. Yeah. So I've got 4 baggy greens.
You'd be the only bloke that's played cricket for Australia with 4 baggy greens.
No, well, back in the day, Smiley, they used to get a baggy green every tour. So that's why a lot of the former players back who played in the 60s, 70s, 80s. They've got multiple baggy greens because they used to get one every single tour. So they don't. Some guys would have a dozen or so. Whereas I think when Steve Waugh made a big play about how important the baggy green was, and which I thought was really, really good at what he did. He was trying to get a sense of pride in that. Players in my era literally only got one cap. So in my era, other than the guys who got the one-off caps off the Centenary Federation, I think the season before was the skull cap baggy green, which was the skull cap one-off. So unless those special ones, most of the players, like the Ricky Pontings of this world, the Matty Hayde, they'll only have one baggy green.
And it's very baggy and very old.
And a lot of them have had them repaired actually, so to make them look sort of half presentable.
Let's talk about the one thing you've got that no one else does have there, mate. The 201. Still the record today, Night Watchman.
Yep. Before we start on that, if you don't mind, because
I've got another one.
Because
you give him this one. Go on.
Because Dizzy really started, in my opinion, that 200
and one.
Not out.
NO. Yeah. Give me the NO.
Unconquered, I like to say.
Unconquered.
It's better than 175 on debut by a lot.
But I think that started the tail, the 9-10 jack. Actually batting instead of
the Night
7
Watchman.
7 out all out. Yeah. Because you worked on your batting.
Very hard.
A lot of people didn't.
I think.
But I think you started it. I think you started these guys who are now wearing helmets and whatever, actually batting. Because it used to be 7 out, all out. Once you got 7, bang, bang, bang.
So quick.
And all of a sudden...
I think it was certainly something, Bazz, that I always felt I had a responsibility. I think, because I grew up in the era of, even as a teenager growing up, like helmets, They weren't mandatory, but I tended to wear a helmet because I was a lower order player. But I always felt that it's your duty and obligation to actually do everything you can to help the team.
Exactly,
Now,
exactly.
if you're a bowler, you work on your fielding, you work on your batting, and it came from a little bit of experience too, because nothing worse than getting team 6 or 7 down, and then guys there playing stonewalling, and you're bowling your best ball, and they're leaving you or defending you, and having a partnership with a frontline batter.
Yeah.
And I thought that could be me. I could be that guy that annoys the crap out of the bowlers.
Yeah.
So I just tried to face as many balls as I could, and especially if I was in a partnership with an established batter, I just felt if we can put 30 runs together, that's 30 more runs that go on our score.
Exactly right.
And it annoys the bowlers, annoys the fielding side.
Yeah.
So I felt that was my duty to work hard, and there was no excuses because you had helmets, there's chest guards, arm guards, no excuse not to practice and get better.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my thing.
And the Aussies the other day with Stark and
Hazelwood, absolutely.
There you go. You know, they put, I don't know what they put on, 40 or...
even more, yeah.
Even more than that.
Mate, it was a fantastic partnership.
That's so important.
That gave us a chance. I know the game didn't go the way we wanted it, but it at least gave the Australians a chance.
Gave the bowlers a chance to knock them
That's
over.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, there's numbers to support that because you had 2 unbeaten half centuries against India, 2004, 2005, which drew the series. So it wasn't, I mean, a lot of people talk about your 201, but you've touched on it, you had an obligation. Can you remember that series?
Oh, look,
the 2 unbeaten.
I remember a number of my batting exploits. I mean, I remember getting a 50 against Pakistan at the MCG, got a 50 against New Zealand at the Gabba. Do you remember when Glenn McGrath got his 61?
Yes.
Yeah, I got 50 at the other end.
And nobody even mentioned it.
Oh no, well they did because I rode my bat like Happy Gilmore down.
There it is.
So that was that one. But we put on over 100. We put on like 116 or something for the last wicket.
Yeah.
And then bowled out New Zealand for less than that, which was a pretty cool thing. Right?
Yeah.
And to see Glenn, I still maintain Glenn's innings of 61 as one of the greatest knocks in the history of the game. And the reason I say that is because his batting average was 5.
Yeah.
So he got over 12 times
His batting
his
average.
average. So that's like Ricky Ponting getting 600.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. Good point. Yeah.
So,
Which he nearly could, by the way.
which is good, absolutely.
It's a really interesting one, mate, because when you talk to the cricketers, you're either the spinning group, the quick bowlers, or the batsman.
Yeah.
So you're kind of unique in operating in 2 spaces, mate.
Yeah,
Of batsman and bowler.
Nah, mainly one space.
I know, mainly the bowling space, but you were in that space. Was there a connection between you guys? Because Baz touched on it. Normally, the 3 quicks, they're over here. Batting done, we're all out. But suddenly you've created something that hasn't been there before.
Well,
So there's a bit of fun in it as well.
Oh, yeah. The dressing room dynamics, Smiley, are quite funny. You have the bowlers tend to congregate together because if you're batting and batters are all concentrating, getting their heads right at bat. We're all thinking toasted sangers, cups of tea, kick back, relax. We're all laughing, carrying on. Yeah. And then the batters are in their own space. The interesting one was in my year. It was Adam Gilchrist. So he was batter, but he loved hanging out with the bowlers. Yeah. Because we just relaxed, and he was batting 7, so he'd just be happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
So he actually quite enjoyed hanging out with us on a batting day.
Yeah.
But he had to kind of have his serious head on because he had to think about his batting at certain times. So it was a little bit of fun.
It was amazing innings, mate. Your 200. I mean, I know we joke about it.
And
a lot of people joke about it.
And one.
And one, yeah.
Yep.
But a lot of people do. A lot of people joke about it. I mean, it's nothing to be joking about, in my opinion, because you still have to get them. I don't care who it's against. It wouldn't worry me who it was against. You still have to get the runs and not make an error and get out. So it was a great knock. It was a fantastic knock. But I think the celebrations and whatever and what's happened since with a lot of people give you a bit of flack about it and whatever, especially. But you give a bit of flack back. That's what I like. You say,
absolutely.
Well, when was the last time you made a double century? Whoever.
Well, that's right.
Like that.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I have a bit of fun with it. And look, my sportsman's night story is slightly different to what actually happened.
It's unusual.
There's a little bit of mayonnaise on it, but look, you're right. I mean, look, I'm actually really proud of that innings, because it's over 400 balls, so 9.5 hours of batting. So it's a long time for a lower order player to bat. Yes, the conditions were very good to bat. There's no question of that. There wasn't much turn. If you ask me on a sportsman's night, though, it was an absolute snake pit. It was going everywhere. It was turn and bounce. It was kicking at your head and
divots,
all sorts. But the absolute reality was it was pretty benign surface. But having said that, there were batsmen that got out. So, which I like to hang my hat on a little bit, but look, it was a lot of fun. It was hard work, but I had a simple game plan.
Yeah.
If it was on the stumps, I'd play with an absolute dead straight bat. If it was off the stumps, I'd look to try and score. If it was down the leg side, I'd just look to get it into the leg side. It was pretty standard. It was a mental exercise because physically, I had to make sure I was fit enough to be able to bat that long, but mentally it was a challenge, and just not to go out of my bubble, so to speak, and play a big shot.
Yeah. So what was the dressing room like when you returned? When you came back into the dressing room, what was that like?
Disbelief.
Yeah.
Are we in the twilight zone? Did this just happen? I think that was there was a few bemused faces. There's no doubt about it. But boys overridingly were delighted, obviously, for me. I know Ricky. I'd run Ricky out.
Yeah.
So that's quite often why I say I didn't want to go back into the dressing room. Because I ran the captain out.
Staying out here before the ball.
And that's probably the moral of the story as well, because that was my last test match. That was my last test innings.
Yes.
Never played again.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. The moral of the story is don't run out your skipper.
Yeah.
I mean, how many?
And then don't get 200 to embarrass him. Yeah,
that's right.
Because he knows he could have got 400. So
Right. But I mean, it was absolutely my fault. Ran him out. He was running down the wicket. Halfway down the wicket, and I was too busy admiring my forward defence. So I'm not thinking runs. I'm just thinking, how good is that? And I just said no, turned around. He was halfway back, and this fielder threw the stumps.
When in doubt, run them out. Diz, that was my theory, mate. When in doubt, run them out. Run the other bloke out.
explain why you haven't got many friends in.
No. Well, I'll give you. I'll tell you right now that. Chappelli, batting with Chappelli one day, who nearly ran me out.
That's okay.
And then I sent
it's
him
okay
back.
if the captain runs you out.
He came up the track and said to me, because I wasn't going to make it. I was going to get done at that end. So I sent him back, and he nearly got done. But he came up the track at me, and I thought, oh no, here we go. Chappelli's going to give it to me here. He goes, look, never ever worry who's at the other end, whether it be the Australian captain or Billy the Goose. When in doubt, run them out, because they'll run you out. No problem at all. And then he went back. Fair enough.
Did he get run out?
No, but I tried to run him out.
He had a better attitude then because he wasn't run out.
Well, no. But, I mean, he's run, you say you run Ricky Ponting out, but maybe there wasn't a run there.
Well, I didn't think there was a run
there.
But the problem is I wasn't even looking for a run. So that was the difference. If I'd been looking for a run,
maybe.
No doubt there would have been a run there.
there.
That's why I think the captain was a little bit grumpy with it, and fair enough too.
Mate, they do talk about the 201 because it's such a big score. I want to come back to the 2 unbeaten 50s against India. Because part of the joke on you is that it was only Bangladesh, no big, but India's a whole different. Everyone rates them as the big cricketing nation.
Yeah.
Was it different? Those 250s? I mean, obviously answer, it's 150 different, but the concentration to stay in against them versus the concentration for the 200.
No, well, I think the
similar.
The 50s you get it's context of games, isn't it?
Yes.
So, one of my proudest innings was actually I got 26 in Chennai against India. I faced something like 140 balls. I went in as night watchman, and I batted that night, and then the fourth day until just after tea. Wow. And I only made 26. I was in a partnership with Damien Martin. He made a brilliant 100.
Fantastic
and
player.
we both got out close to it, right? We ended up we were going to have to go out and bowl. I can't remember if we actually went out and bowled that night or we were going to start bowling day 5 of the test. And we were only 100 runs in front, so we were going to get beaten.
Yeah.
But day 5 rained out. So, had I not stayed in with Mardo, and we may have been bowled out for even less than that. And they would have beaten us on day 4. And that was the second test of the series. So we'd won the first test of the series, drew that game. So 1-0 going to the third test, and the third test was in Nagpur. and we ended up beating India to go 2-0 up with 1 to play. We won the series in Nagpur. So that 26 is probably my most important knock in the context of my games. The 50s you mentioned, the one at the MCG, Pakistan, they were a good side. They had some fast bowlers. They had Danish Kaniri, leg spinner. And I enjoyed that. My favourite part of that was hitting Mohammed Sami back over his head for 6 over the side screen at MCG. So I was very happy with that. And then obviously the 50 against the Kiwis in Brisbane. Batting with Glenn was a lot of fun. It was more fun just watching Glenn bat and me standing at the other end. Like I remember him coming down. He was a bit unsure what to do, so he's not sure how to play this. I said, look, mate, just play nice and straight. Just pick your gaps and keep. Well, if it's outside here, you cut. You can tuck it away here. No worries. And then he goes back. He said, yeah, good advice, Diz. So he goes back. He plays 6 completely different shots in the next 6 balls. He tries a hook, tries a reverse sweep, he's tried to sweep, he's tried to dance out the wicket over the top. Made an over. No, walked down. What the hell was that? He said, I just panicked. So I had those memories in my head of these times I've batted with guys. I mean, I remember probably one of my favourite batting innings was 2001 in Trent Bridge. We were playing against England in Ashes series. We found ourselves. I went into bat at number 10, and Adam Gilchrist was the other end. We were about 8 for 100. We were miles behind. We put on a significant. I can't remember exactly what we got. Near on 100 runs. We batted together, but I remember taking on the role of being vocal as a batter. So.
Chirping batter. Okay.
Chirping.
Righto.
So not at the
the opposition.
English.
Yeah, just chirpy.
But I would walk down the wicket, yell, top of my voice, come on, Gilly, we've got these boys. We're all over it. Look at them. They think they've got us out of here already. They're panicking now. And you could just see it. Then they just start getting stuck into me. And I'm getting back into them.
Just what you want.
Because it took all the pressure off Gilly.
Yep.
So Gilly could just bat.
Yep.
So they were ignoring Gilly, and because I'm getting a little fight with them, and we ended up putting on a little partnership, and that was pretty cool.
You don't want to ignore him. You wouldn't want to annoy him.
No, but I had to. I was a big diversion, so I'm just yelling. I'm carrying on like a pork chop. Not saying anything derogatory or anything. I'm trying to pump up Gilly and. So, mate, we've got these boys, all that sort of stuff. And you could just see them all looking at each other going, what's this dickhead?
Mate, the mind games in cricket amaze me. I don't know if it's because you've got so long to sit in the change room sometimes and think up the great sledges, but there have been some absolute rippers over the journey. Best sledges you can remember, mate? Got a couple?
The best one I remember, and I know it's probably gone around the Sportsman's Night circuit ad nauseum, but I have to mention it because it was very funny and I remember hearing it. We were at the Oval in 2001, that Ashes series, and a bloke by the name of James Ormond walked out to bat. I think he'd only played 1 or 2 test matches. Fast bowler from Leicester who then went to Surrey. And he was playing at the Oval, Surrey's home ground, against us, last test of the series. And the King, standing there, Shane Warne. He's, we called him the King because he insisted on it. And, so he's just there, standing there, the great man. He's flipping the thing. James Ormond's come out and he's taken centre. He's got Adam Gilchrist by the stumps. He's got Justin Langer under the lid, Steve Waugh at catching cover, Mark Waugh at slip. Mark Waugh. This goes, Ormond, you are without doubt the worst cricketer I've ever seen. You're the worst cricketer that I've ever been on a cricket field with. Well, pretty brutal, right?
It's a good start.
Yeah. Jimmy Ormond, quick as a flash, just turns around. Mark, that may be correct, but at least I'm the best player in my family. Gilly behind the stumps has just pulled away. He's just blowing up. Justin under the lid is crying. Stephen's having a giggle at the Warning's giggling at the top of his mark. We're all having a bit of a laugh, and Marcus Junior's just gone and fair Sledge, mate. Well done. Well played.
Yeah.
Really, that's the main one I remember. That was a beauty.
And if you can remember all of them, because
you could write a book.
It's constant.
There's a few books out, isn't there? Some
People,
absolutely.
People sit and watch the cricket at home. You sit and watch the cricket at home, and it's terrific, great game. And you don't hear what is actually going on out there.
No.
There is chirps everywhere. There's always a chirper. There's always 2 or 3 in the side that will come in and have a little crack at the next batter or whatever, just to get him off or whatever.
Absolutely.
And this happens all the time.
I'll tell you who tells a great story about sledging is James Brayshaw.
Yeah.
So Bray,
Jimmy.
obviously very well known in media commentary. He's brilliant at what he does, but he was very underrated cricketer. He averaged mid-40s in Sheffield Shield cricket. It doesn't matter. But he averaged like 80 against Victoria. And Merv, for some reason, hated James Brayshaw. Just thought he was a pretty boy, strutted around, all this sort of stuff, would save all his best. And in Merv's book, there's actually got Bray is actually talking about how Merv used to just sledge him like relentlessly. But there was nothing clever or anything about it. It was just F-bombs. It was just I hate you. Like it was just abuse. Like it was just out and out abuse. And Bray reckoned after one day he just snapped. Bray just snapped, said, Merv, I've been copping this from you for 10 effing years. Hey, what else you got? Give me something else. And cut it out, or whatever. And then apparently Merv just looked at him, okay, James. Yeah. And then walked back and never said a word to him for his career. But the way Bray tells it is absolute gold,
Hey, when you talk about the sledging, we'll move on to the other stuff, but the West Indies, because you were with their quicks, they just strike me as a group that wouldn't need to sledge too much. Were they the chirpy kind of and you certainly wouldn't want to be chirping at them.
No.
So were they kind of the team where you go, we just play?
That is, yeah. Well, I got my test debut, the quicks that we played against, and were Courtney Walsh, Curtly Ambrose, Kenny Benjamin, and Ian Bishop. Yeah. Ian Bishop tended to pitch up, try and swing it, but he's probably the quickest of the lot.
Yeah.
But Walsh and Ambrose just keep
pounding
the wicket. Kenny Benjamin, he had like that many gold chains. He was like Mr. T, and they just all bounce up and down, and all he did is bowl short.
Yeah.
And he just had this big grin on his face.
Yeah.
And he's just smiling at you, bowl bounce at you. And then walk back. Never said a word. Like, none of them said a word. But behind the wicket is where some of the words were. So, and Courtney Walsh. So I worked out early on in my first test innings at the SCG that he had 2 nicknames. One nickname was Cuddy, and the other one was Rightsy. Now I don't know why he was called that. So all you'd hear behind the wicket is get it higher, Rightsy. Get it higher, and then you sort of come through here and get it higher. Come through here, get it higher.
Oh, it's coming out.
And then you'd hear, come on, Cuddy, get it higher. And so it's all just coming through here. Holy heck, how the hell am I meant to score here?
But you're right with the smile, Diz. That's exactly what they did. All of them just had this great big grin on their face because they knew.
But Curtly was the scariest. And I'll tell you why. Curtly would come in and bowl through here at pace, and you just sort of just get out of the way or whatever, or play it, and then you sort of get your thoughts settled, and you don't want to look up because you're too worried. And then you finally do look up after about 10 seconds. Mate, he's 2/3 of the way back to his mark. Now, I found that more intimidating because I'm thinking, he's coming at me again.
Yeah, you've got time to think about it.
That's right. Look, he wants a piece of me. Yeah. And I kind of, I took that on board a little bit. Like when I played, I thought, well, if I can just bowl and then get back to my mark quick, I want batters to feel intimidated by me just through my actions rather than trying to sledge.
Good point.
I'd say the odd word every now and again, or I'd stay a little bit longer and have a little linger, a little stare. But I always felt, just get back to your mark, and as if to say, oh mate, I'm coming at you again, son, and I'm going to knock you over.
Yeah. I can't remember you doing that. I can't remember you being a starer or a...
No, I never really did much of it. Nah.
It was a trait though. You got pegged at one stage for having this death stare, this evil stare.
Yeah,
the opposition said, Dizzy's... Because you always see, everyone said he was such a great bloke, such a nice guy, a really good fella. And then somewhere along the line it changed to... Yeah, mate, unless he's looking at you when he's coming at you, then there's no nice guy anymore.
I used to get told that I had a look when I was bowling at times. That,
and a hook nose as well.
And a hook nose,
Mate, if you keep coming with that, you might get a hook.
Just watching him. That's,
I'm clearly out of striking distance, mate, so I'm okay. I'll bring it up for you.
arms.
Mate, was there anyone you genuinely feared? You know, was there, when you got out there, you went, oh, geez, I just don't really want to face this bloke?
I'll tell you what, Alan Donald was quick. I remember that at a test level. But I remember a spell at Adelaide Oval. We were playing Victoria in the mid to late 90s, so maybe 96, 97 or something like that. Brad Williams, who then went to Western Australia and did play some tests for Australia. Yeah. He was playing for Victoria at the time, and he bowled this spell. And I remember facing a ball, and it just rose on me. And I just fended it away with my glove, and I don't actually think I saw the ball. And that was the only time in my career I genuinely was worried that I was going to get hurt. Yeah. So I never feared getting hurt. I feared getting out. Yeah. I was scared of getting out. I didn't want to get out. But I remember that time distinctly that I feared for my safety because it was just in one of those spells and it was just rapid and I just didn't see the ball.
Isn't that funny, Diz? Because when people say to you as a batsman, they say, oh, you know, you faced so-and-so and so-and-so and he was quick and what about, you know, Thompson and, you know, Lilly and all that. Yep. And you go, yeah, but, and I say the same thing. None of them, I faced them all, but none of them really frightened me. But one day, just one spell, Steve Bernard.
Yeah, Brute
Bernard. Now, there's a guy who not a lot of people would know, but it was a...
He was the Australian team manager for my whole career, basically,
5 o'clock in Sydney, overcast, greeny, new ball, opener, and Chappelli said afterwards, that's the fastest spell of bowling that I've ever faced. And that was just, half an hour.
Yeah.
And he was brutal, quick. Now, in the return match at Adelaide Oval, you know, a couple of months later or whatever, I thought, oh, here he comes again. Here comes Brute. And he goes, oh, bang.
It wasn't quite the same.
It's the conditions
absolutely.
That made him, that spell, I still remember it today.
Yeah, because I understand that because I'd faced Brad Williams subsequently after that when he was playing for Western Australia and the like, and it wasn't the same. Yeah. But that spell, that afternoon...
Conditions. And,
oh my God, that was rapid. So I know what you mean,
When you talk about that, you know, as sports people, we always talk about we were in the zone. Either I was batting well or bowling well. Were there times when you had a spell, mate, where you thought, I'm just bowling as quick as I've ever bowled and I'm just on song and I'm just loving it. I'm just in it. This is what I love the most.
Absolutely. There were a couple of times I remember, particularly I remember a particular game in Shield cricket. We were playing in Perth, and I finished with Pfeiffer. I bowled 30 overs for the innings, and I think pretty much it was against West Australia. I think pretty much 95% of the deliveries I bowled were landed exactly where I wanted to land them, and it was just. And I can't put it down to anything in particular, but as you said, the moment, just everything felt good. The run-up felt great. I was hitting my mark. I was hitting the crease well. Everything synchronised. It just worked. Everything worked at the right time. So that's a clear one for me. I remember that one distinctly. There are a number of times in tests where the odd spell, but that Shield game was a whole game where I felt in sync. But in a lot of tests and that, you'd have the odd over or spell where everything just absolutely clicked,
Mate, you talk about a great fondness, we can hear it when you're chatting about you and Glenn. You know, the relationship between the two of you. Do you ever catch yourself watching him and going, geez, that was a good ball? You know, sometimes with super players, and you play against some of the best in the world, you can pick the batsmen, the bowlers, but you just watch them and you go, wow, that's pretty good. Do you ever catch yourself just watching a batter or a bowler, mate? And then go, better get back to playing?
Used to love watching Glenn bowl, especially if I wasn't at fine leg and I was at mid-on or mid-off and I was there watching him go about his work. And just the simplicity of it really struck me. Like Glenn, I remember asking Glenn for advice once. Mate, just want to tap into your knowledge and that. Mate, how do you do it? Like, and he looked at me so relaxed. He said, Diz, I don't really swing the ball. I can't seam it. I don't really, but what I can do, I know I can hit that spot on the wicket 95 times out of 100. I'm tall. I get good bounce. And now that, I've played for a bit, people start to be a bit concerned, a bit scared of me or a bit intimidated. I can use that to my advantage. And on the back of me being so accurate, I know I'm going to take wickets.
Yeah.
That was his advice. I said, thanks, mate. Good.
Yeah,
For
cool.
us mere mortals,
Yeah,
it's a bit different.
let me
but-
work on that. Yeah.
We've been blessed, haven't we, Diz? We've been blessed. Even your era, great
Yep.
quicks,
Yep.
your Thompsons and all that, but it goes on. We've been blessed with really good quicks. Well, like our attack right now is...
Oh, and
it's just the
look,
best
this
going
attack
around.
now, I'd go as far to say it's the best quartet that Australia have ever put on the park.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, Lyon, statistically it is.
Yeah.
But also, if you look at every measure in terms like strike rates, economy rates, averages. The only thing that's probably gone up has been economy rates.
Yeah.
Strike rates have come down, so they're striking more often. I mean, Pat Cummins has got 300 Test wickets, and he gets a wicket every 45 balls.
Yeah. It's
And Glenn
amazing.
McGrath took 50 balls
Yeah.
per Test wicket.
Yeah.
And Dennis Lilly, same, took
Yeah.
50 balls per Test wicket.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking serious bowlers here. Mitchell Stark's in the 40s with his strike rate as well.
Yeah.
We're talking some serious cricketers here.
Yeah.
And they will rightly go down as some of the greats that have ever played our game.
Sure.
And I'll be honest, just putting on my Australian cricket fan cap on, I love watching our quicks go about their
So do
work.
I.
Oh,
Yeah,
Stark
absolutely.
Cummins, Stark Hazelwood Cummins.
Yeah.
It is just,
Yeah.
and then Scotty Boland, who is
Can't get a
a
game.
decent replacement at the moment.
Yeah,
Can't get a game. It's just beautiful. But the fast bowler in me just loves watching these guys.
And there's
go
a
about
few
their
coming
work.
through too. There's a few that we haven't seen yet.
There's a few guys
will
coming
probably
through.
be playing
Yeah.
in other countries.
Without a doubt.
You know, no problem at all.
Michael Nisa,
Ness,
for instance,
yeah.
he's a really good example of someone who's churned at a domestic level for many years. He's a bit like a Martin Love or Michael Divenuto of the 90s, turn of the
There you go.
century, who just through the sheer strength of our batting.
Yeah.
Stuart Law played one Test match,
Terrific player.
a terrific player,
Yeah.
So a lot of guys who didn't get opportunities, and we've seen that I think in the last decade with some of our bowlers, who just Jackson Bird, wonderful bowlers, only
There you
played
go.
and
There you
dozens of
go.
tests, so would have played 50 or more in any other country. So
Right, let's get into this. I want to get into this. I've got to get into Pakistan.
Just show me the reach, mate. How far can you
No,
reach?
no,
No, okay, good. I'll just move back a fraction. Oh, no.
I've got to get into this because
that's
Pakistan.
you've had some terrific results as far as coaching goes.
Yeah.
Very good coach, and everyone knows it. And then you go to Pakistan, right? And you're going to coach Pakistan. Now, I had a look at Pakistan, and I'm going to read this out to you. They had 27 coaches since 1992. 27 coaches. But since 2000, Richard Pybus. There's the first one.
Yeah.
I think, have you heard of him?
No.
You heard of him?
Yep.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
I
I
think he
know
coached,
Richard Pybus, yeah.
I think he coached Culminated, didn't he? Or something? Or-
No, I think Richard Pybus, South Africa.
Dominator.
I've never heard of him, mate.
South African Englishman. Yeah,
Okay.
spent a lot of time coaching in those
Yeah.
countries.
Okay. Jarvid Mandel, we all know Jarvid. Yeah. Bob Warmer.
Yep.
Jeff Lawson. Intercarba Lamb. Dav Watmore. Waka Eunice. Mickey Arthur, the longest serving. From 216 to 220. He's the longest serving ever.
Yep.
Mishba Al Haq. Gary Kirsten, Jason Gillespie.
Yep.
Did you see that list before you signed on?
I was well aware that I went into the job eyes wide open,
I know,
so
yeah.
no question. The attraction for me was it was just focusing on one format of the game, the Test format, and there was sort of good lead-in times there was breaks so I could spend time with my family. I wasn't away on the road like 12 months a year,
yeah.
which they assured me was fine. There were good lead-ins for each Test series and the like. So. Felt it was just a good fit at that time for me and my coaching journey. And look, things started off okay, and then then communication became very difficult. We lost a Test match against England, and there was a group text that went around to everyone, including the coaches. So Gary Kirsten was in South Africa at the time. So because he was the white ball coach, and I was the red ball coach. We just lost the Test match against England, and they sent a group text saying the coaches are removed from all selection
Amazing.
issues. This was the third Test of my tenure, by the way, and Gary wasn't even in the country, and it was a different format of the game that he was coaching, and he'd been removed from selection as well. of his white ball team that they picked a squad to go to Australia. So they said, no, we're ripping that up and we're picking it again. And they just changed the whole script. And
Disaster.
And so Gary then decided, and ironically, and this is where they ended up picking players that we originally wanted to pick, but the chairman said no because they didn't reach fitness standards. But after we lost that test match, they said, oh, the fitness standards are out the window now. You can pick who you want. And so it just got... Anyway, we ended up winning that test series.
Comical.
And then Gary had decided...
Against England, you won the series.
Against England,
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And then they were going to Australia, and I was heading home because it was white ball series. We didn't have a test series until South Africa, Boxing Day, New Year. So I was going to have a little bit of time at home and with my family. And then, because Gary had quit, they'd asked me if I'd be interim white ball coach in Australia. I said, well, look, I'm going to be in Australia. Yeah, we can negotiate that. No problem. So I negotiated that. I essentially did it to help out. No problem. I'd do the right thing. And then they started asking, okay, because we won the one-day series, lost the T20s, but they wanted a bit of continuity, and there was some one-days in Zimbabwe and South Africa leading into the South Africa Test Series. They said, oh, would you do the job? And I said, up to the Champions Trophy, which is in March, the one-day stuff, on top of the Test stuff. And I thought about it and sort of spoke about, okay, well, I'm not going to do this for nothing. I'm going to be away from home for 5 months, so I need to sort of be compensated for that. And we couldn't come to any arrangement with that. So I just said, look, thanks for the opportunity. I really enjoyed doing the white ball series in Australia with the boys. It was good to learn a little bit about the one-day stuff. But I'm just going to focus, as my job is, the test side.
Red ball. Yep.
And I think that in part annoyed them.
Yeah.
Because I think after Gary had quit, they decided that we're just going to have one coach now. But they had me under contract. And so then just decisions were being made. The selectors were just doing what they wanted, no consultation with the coach. Then they sacked Tim Nielsen as my assistant in the test side.
High performance
coach, right? Like, very important. I'd given him a specific role to really work hard on our fielding, and he was working well with the batters. He was developing some really good rapport. But our fielding was the thing that improved a lot against England. We outfielded England. So Pakistan, which has never been known as a fielding nation,
That's right.
outfielded England, which was huge. So we were making some really good gains. And then there was no communication about Tim's sacking for the South Africa Test Series. Like, there was no phone call, no text, no email, no communication whatsoever. Tim rang me and said, I'm not going to South Africa, Diz. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've just got a phone call saying that my services are no longer required. And that was, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back. I've just gone, like, I can't work in...
Well, you're not working.
I'm not even working. Like, this is a joke. And so I just said, look, I need Tim reinstated. There's been no communication. What's going on? And I basically said, I'm not going to get on the plane unless these things are rectified. And that was basically the last communication I've had. So I just felt completely undermined the whole time. The head of selectors was just felt undermining the whole time, and it wasn't a shock to see him become the coach. In any way, shape, or form. I'll probably just leave it there, but that's exactly what I knew was going to happen. What would happen, and that was the agenda, and that's what happened. And look, the thing with Pakistan is that, and I've spoken to Tim about this a lot, we loved working with the players. It was fantastic. Like, they're desperate to learn, they want to improve, they want to get better. They're under immense pressure from PCB, from their fans, from everyone. Like, there's so much expectation on them and our whole thing was, let's, like, in the confines of the dressing room and our environment, let's take all that outside noise away and let's just focus on how we can get better, how we can be a better team, how we can help each other individually. How can we help? That was Tim's and my mantra was, how can we help you guys get better? And we'd have good discussions with the boys and we'd go and implement that at training and we'd have these great sessions. We'd challenge the boys. we challenged them on some of the perceptions of them from the outside, and said, this is how people see you guys, and we can work hard and try and change some of those perceptions through our training and how we go about playing the game. And we felt we were making some really solid progress, and to I suppose have that just destroyed through agendas and that, it was just I'm too old to deal with that crap.
Yeah.
I don't need that in my life. I just felt for the players. Tim, we're still getting.
I was going to say, you hear from the players.
We're still hear from the players regularly.
Yeah.
They're saying, we loved working with you guys. And that's what breaks your heart almost the most. But look,
it shows you were doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's right. And that's how we sort of hang our hat on. But I mean, the thing is, it's I'll coach again, I think, but right now it's not high on my priority list. As I have been soured a little bit. I don't have that right now. I don't have that genuine thing. I mean, if opportunities come up, of course you have a look at them. If you think you can, ultimately, as you know, Phil, if you think you can make a difference and help, you look at things. But right now, I've got a supporters tour to the West Indies to be excited about.
Yes, we'll come to that in a minute.
Okay.
Just on that, I reckon you reach an age in your career and what you've gone through with Pakistan and all the other world teams you've been involved with and here, where you suddenly realise you knew the Pakistan was a gamble, so you take the punt.
Absolutely,
and we've all done it. We've taken a chance. Then you step back from that, and I reckon this is where you'll sit, mate, is that I'll listen to the other jobs, but as soon as I hear certain things, straight away I'll go, no, that's not the job for me. Yeah. When you're younger, you go, I'll take that, I'll take that. But as you get older and wiser, you go, no, because I know if I don't have these things in place, we can't succeed.
It's not going to work.
It won't work. So I reckon you'll find in a year or two, mate, someone will come to you with something where you go, you tell us what you want, how you want it run, and we'll back you in, and you go, okay, now we're talking.
I know what he wants, mate. He wants a tour to the West Indies.
Let's talk about the tour of the West Indies. What have we got coming? The Dizzy Gillespie.
We're really excited. So we've got 3 tests and 2 T20s. So it's through our business, Gillespie Sports. So So we've hosted tours before. We hosted one to the Ashes in 2023, and that was a real success. So we had a lot of people sign up for this trip, and we've got a lot of people signing up for Ashes 2027. So we're really excited. But so myself and Carl Hooper are going to be the tour hosts with Laurie Colliver, Fox Sports Laurie Colliver. So us 3 are going to be the guys, the faces of the tour.
Pretty good 3 to go to the West Indies
We're going to have a bit of fun. There's no doubt about that. So we've got the 3 tests. We've got some nice loud shirts to wear. So we've got a Carl Hooper shirt, like a Hawaiian shirt, like a West Indian. So his face from his playing days, and they've got one of mine with a big flowing mullet. Just
we'll be putting yours up, mate.
Okay,
you'll be able to see it,
I'll look
forward to seeing that, mate.
But look, we're really excited about that, and we're actually going to start selling those shirts as well, because I've had a lot of interest from people who I've shown the shirt to.
Yeah, they look great.
When can we buy them? So they're on our website. So which our Gillespie Sports, our clothing brand, which we do to clothe sports clubs, it's helixsportswear.com.au, so you can jump on there and you can see what we do, and you can definitely see the Dizzy shirt and the Carl shirt, which is Carl's Caribbean Cool.
I'm buying a Dizzy one, mate. I'm getting a Dizzy one.
And Dizzy's Flaming Mullet, I think it's called.
There's no Loz shirt, is there?
Not at this stage, but we if there's a bit of interest...
Mate, are you going to put Loz's head on a shirt?
No, well, not at this stage.
They're going to wear it crabbing. No offence, Loz.
But we are actually...
no offence!
we are actually, at the moment, creating a Travis Head shirt. So,
Trav.
So,
okay.
Travis's head all over. So we're looking at one of those at the moment, and we've got some designs in the making, which are pretty funny, to be honest. If you remember when he had that celebration after his World Cup, and he was sort of with his glasses on.
Yes.
That might get a run.
Might. That'll be on the back. That'll be full blown on the back.
I would have thought that.
Mate, are you enjoying that? Are you enjoying the break away from cricket?
I actually am. I haven't been doing any coaching other than doing some batting stuff with my son before he went to Darwin. He's up in Darwin playing some club cricket at the moment. Before we went, I took him for some batting and did a little bit of him with his bowling. But other than that, I've done the only thing I did in January, I did a little bit of work with CA. Had 2 weeks with the CA 11. They were playing the England Lions up in Brisbane. So I did just helping out as assistant there and just sort of observing the coaches and stuff like that. I quite enjoyed that. That was really good fun. But other than that, I haven't done any coaching. I've kind of purposely stayed away from it, and I think it's freshened me up a lot. Spending a bit of time at Gillespie Sports, helping with some of the clothing stuff, which has been good fun. Done a few sporties. Might have told the 201 story a couple of times with a bit of mayonnaise. Just having a bit of a break and spending time with the family and watching the kids play sport, which has been fantastic.
Nice.
So, yeah.
You know how athletes have certain superstitions when they play, Baz? You would have had them, Diz has got them, and you're travelling over for the first time, mate, to Lords. So having not been like you guys and you're kind of used to it, I'm pretty pumped up. So I send my mate Dizzy a text. Is there anything you need, mate? Is there anything I can bring for you that you need because you've been over there for a while?
Yeah.
What do you reckon he texts me back, mate? What do you think he needed? What do you need the most?
Vegemite.
100% correct.
There you go.
So mate, if you can bring me a big jar of Vegemite, I'm going, well, that's a tough request, mate, isn't it?
He doesn't need Vegemite. These days, I think you can get it in the UK now.
Yeah, you can.
I have seriously never seen a bloke so happy in his life, not to see me. It wasn't smoking hair going, mate, did you bring the Vegemite?
Brilliant. That's brilliant, isn't it? I only said that as a joke.
Did you? Yeah, well, it wasn't
that's
funny.
right.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not
that's
funny.
the funniest thing you've said today.
But it's good. Yeah. Again.
So when do you head off, mate? When does the tour, when do you take off for the West
We
Indies?
leave on the 23rd of June, so Monday 23rd of June.
Oh, not
so
far
we're
away,
going.
yeah.
It's about a month, so looking forward to that.
Will there be more, mate? Will there be a tour to Lords? Will Gillespie Sports get onto
Ashes
this?
2027.
Yes.
We're actually taking deposits, and we're sort of putting that plan in place. So we've got a lot of interest
I imagine.
for that. So we're hoping to have about at least 40 or 50 people for that
You
tour.
won't have
So
time to coach.
I'll be the host. Look. I'm open to coaching opportunities. So consultancy, some short-term gigs.
Sure.
But a full-time role right now is probably not. I'm not in the headspace for that at the moment.
Yeah.
I may be in time, and as you alluded to before, that if something comes up that I think I can make a difference and think it could work, then I'll certainly look at it. But right now, it's not really on my radar. I'm actually excited. I'm going to be doing some commentary for ABC over the summer for the Ashes and for the top end series in Darwin, Cairns, and Mackay in August. The one days against South Africa. So I'm really excited about that. That's really got me excited, to be honest. And I'd like to see where that'll take me, the radio comms, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, I highly recommend you get on the Ashes tour, mate.
Absolutely.
To get to Lords, there's just something special.
Something about it.
If you've got the right people that can access you into things that you don't normally get access to, it's pretty unique. So
Put your hand up and get going.
Yep. Dizzy Gillespie, our special guest.
Good on you, Des.
Thank you.
Now, folks. No, get up, mate. You want to be on all the time. Like, share, subscribe. That really helps us out. Don't worry about what Baz says. Like, share, subscribe.